Guys? Alright, so that's the first step. Now all of you should have some recommendation sheets that Rob handed you, so just grab one of them. You don't need all of them, just grab one. And by the way, we asked you to bring an extra binder today. That binder is for your recommendation forms, because every appointment you do, you're going to acquire another recommendation form. So you can imagine after a couple weeks, you have a lot. You know, after a month, you've got a lot. After a few months, you've got a ridiculous amount. And so you don't want to try and stuff these in your blue book because it's just going to become a huge mess in 4 days. So it's good to have a leads binder, like a folder that you keep just all of your recommendations in. A lot of reps will 3-hole punch them and just keep them in a binder. You can put them in a folder. You just want all your lead sheets in one area, so that way you never lose them. You can always keep track of them. You know where they're at. So, anyways, the first step is just simply to get some names written down. Now, the second step is to get some immediate yeses, because we don't just ask the customer to write down a bunch of names and then just cold call those people. The people that we reach out to are the ones that they actually call. They actually call either right then or later, but they actually call up their friends, ask them if they'd be willing to let us give them a call to set up an appointment with them. And the ones that say, yeah, sure, why not, are the ones that we actually call. And so we average 2 yeses on every appointment that we do. So again, they might write down 5, 10, 12 people, 15 people, but we usually average 2 for sure. And so the second box is how you accomplish that. And you're going to need the recommendation sheet to look at while I go through it, because there's going to be a part in the second box where it says read the top of the recommendation sheet to your customer, and you'll watch how I go through this here. So let's say Haley, my customer, she just handed me the sheet back. She wrote down some names. Little tip, to make people feel amazing for helping you even a little bit when it comes to referrals. Treat them like gold. Go above and beyond to let them know how appreciative you are with what they just did for you. Okay? So it's when she handed me the sheet back, I'm like, you're incredible. Really, this means the world to me. This is the only way I get a chance to meet people. So thank you for that. It helps out more than you even realize. And Haley, this is the most important part, because like I said before, I can only call people who have sense, okay? So it would be great if you could help me get in touch with some of these people right now. And here's what most of my customers say. When you give them a call, if you could, just tell them a little bit about me. You can just let them know my name's James, and I'm a student down at Boise State right now, just kind of trying to pay my way through school. And you can just let them know the appointment. It's really fun and easy. It doesn't take too long. The most important thing, though, is this third one right here. Is just make sure they know that they don't have to get anything. Because I get paid just to show it. And then if you could, just ask them if it'd be alright for me to give them a quick call sometime. And by the way, when you get me 2 yeses, I can actually throw in that vegetable peeler for free. So, who do you think would be best to call first, David? Well, I guess, would you be willing to give them a call real quick? I really appreciate that. And I know I'll still be finishing up cleaning there, dude. And you just kind of go from there. Okay? So that's the second step. Now, by the way, do you think customers appreciate getting a free peeler if they do get you 2 people? Yeah, it's free, guys. It's a free item, and it's Cutco. It's literally the best peeler ever, and it's guaranteed forever. And they don't have to pay anything for it. It's just a couple phone calls for them. And some of you are pretty young, and maybe a peeler's not that big of a deal to you. You could care less. Okay? But you know what? Someone in their 40s who's been using terrible peelers their whole life. It's kind of funny watching how they react. You'll have a peeler in your kit so you can show it. It's kind of funny, when you have them try it out, a lot of times they don't even think it's going to be any different than any peeler they've ever used before, and they'll go to use it and they're like, Frank, try it out. And that's their subtle way of being excited about the peeler. But you know what? If they use it, I promise you they will like it. I can promise you they will like it if they use it. And if they use it and they like it, they're going to be a lot more willing to make a couple phone calls just to get it for free. Part of the reason we average 2 yeses is because of this thing right here. And so a lot of people will make a couple phone calls just to get a free peeler. A lot of people will do it just to help. But there are also the other people that will do it just for a peeler. And so it at least helps to have a little incentive to be able to give them. Now, if they order anything, you can just put the peeler right on the order form, and I'll show you how to put it for free when we do order writing here in a just come right with their order. Now, if they don't purchase, you still have the option to be able to offer them a free peeler. You don't have to. I really recommend it because you're going to get a lot more referrals from someone if you give them a little incentive than if you don't. And the company does have a program for that, where if somebody doesn't purchase, but they do give you 2 yeses, the company will sell you a peeler. It's like normally if you're going to buy the peeler, I think it's $34. But if a customer gives you 2 yeses, they'll sell you a peeler for $4 to be able to give them that as a little incentive. Which if you think about it, for 2 new appointments, is it worth $4? How much are you guaranteed if you do 2 appointments? 30. Not including the referrals you get from those 2 people and the referrals you get from those 4 people. And literally, guys, some of the best appointments I ever had, sales-wise, came from a no sale. Literally. Came from a no sale. Like, they couldn't buy, but I offered them a peeler, and they literally were like, you know what? I know who would love this stuff. One of my friends, Vicky, she loves to cook, and like, I got a recommendation, and this happened multiple times, where I get recommended to some awesome people who are incredible customers that came from their friend who didn't buy anything from me. And that was literally one of the best $4 I ever spent. And so, if you have anyone who doesn't buy, but they give you 2 yeses, we have peelers in the office that you can purchase. You can come in, just get a peeler, it's $4, give them a peeler when you owe it to them. Now, most of our reps will buy like 4 or 5 at a time, so that way if somebody doesn't purchase, but then gives them 2 yeses, they can just give it to them right then. Now, some of you, especially if it's like your first job, you might not have any extra money right now. So what I would recommend for your first week or 2 is if somebody doesn't buy, but they give you 2 yeses, just let them know you're going to be getting them a peeler. It takes about 2 weeks. It doesn't take 2 weeks. We have them here whenever. But when you get your first or second paycheck, just come in and get a peeler for them and give them the peeler. You know, that's probably the easiest thing to do for yourself. Now, again, you can buy them whenever you want, but if you want to wait till you get your first or second paycheck, you can totally do that. Cool? So, also, the top of the sheet here. This is a really important part. This is a really important section of this that a lot of times people overlook the importance of it. And you just kind of want to coach your customers on what to say to their friends. Because they've probably never called their friends before to see if someone can come over and do a knife appointment with them. You know, they've probably never had to do that. And so a lot of times they don't know what to say or how to even approach it with a friend. And so it's good to kind of just give them some guidelines on what to say. Realize they're going to say whatever they want to say to their friend. But it's good to at least emphasize a couple things you do want them to emphasize. The key things I want them to emphasize are, 1, like, I'm a nice person. Like, that's something that helps. I want it to come across like I'm a friend of a friend that they're trying to help out. Okay? So I'm like one of their friends and they're asking their friend to help. And I want to really emphasize the appointments are really quick and easy. You know, they don't take too long. The most important thing you got to emphasize is just make sure, it's number 3, make sure they know they don't have to get anything though. Like, I get paid either way, and just being able to do the appointment helps out a bunch. And then the last thing is just ask them if it'd be alright for me to give them a quick call sometime. It's like, that's what I need to emphasize. I'm not looking for like, here, ask them if they'd be interested in Cutco. That's going to get you a lot of no's. Okay? Because if you're like, hey, are you interested in like some really high-end kitchen knives? No. Oh, okay. I just figured it. You know, it's like that's probably not going to result in a lot of referrals because there's very few people like seeking out high-end kitchen knives. But if they're like, hey, random question for you. I've got a guy over here. He's a family friend of ours. His name's James, and he's just a student down at NIC. And he's doing some appointments with Cutco. He's trying to pay his way through school, and the appointments are they're quick and easy. And you wouldn't have to get anything at all. He gets paid just to be able to come over and do an appointment. But I just want to see if it's alright if he gave you a call sometime to tell you a little bit about it. That's like the perfect phone call. Literally every friend would say yes to that. I'm like, sure. Give me a call. They don't always say that, but I want to use this sheet as a guide to help them kind of coach from that angle. Does that make sense? Now, if you're not a student, it's fine. Half the time I was a rep, I was not. Half the time I was. You know, and if I'm not, I'm just like, if you could, obviously just tell them a little bit about, tell them a little bit about me. You can tell them you met me through Jan, and just let them know I'm a nice guy. That'll help probably a little bit. And just make sure they know the appointment's quick. It's easy. It really doesn't take too long. The most important thing, Joan, is just make sure they know they don't have to get anything. Like, I get paid to be able to go and do the appointment. And if you could just ask them if it'd be alright for me to give them a quick call sometime. Okay? Now, you will notice I'm paraphrasing this. You want to follow the second box, word for word. The top of the sheet, though, if you say this word for word, it will sound weird. You're like, tell them who I am, where I go to school. If not in school, I'm a nice man, lady. The appointment is fun and easy. You do not have to get anything. I get paid just to show it. It will be okay for me to give them a quick call. Okay, like if you just read that word for word, it does kind of come off a little weird. So you want to paraphrase this as you're talking to them. Okay? So just like, just let them know my name's James. You can also tell them I'm a student down at CWI, and I'm just kind of trying to pay my way through school right now by doing some appointments. And just let them know the appointments are really fun, they're easy. And I guess the biggest thing though is this third one is make sure they know they don't have to get anything. I get paid just to show it. And then just ask them if it would be okay for me to give them a quick call. Oh, and by the way, and then I come back into the approach and say, and by the way, when you get me 2 yeses, I can throw in that vegetable peeler for free. So, who do you think would be best to call first? And when you ask that question, sometimes they just literally like grab their phone and like, I'll call my sister, see what she says. And then there's other times they're like, I don't know, maybe Tammy. Well, hey, would you be willing to give Tammy a call really quick? Which is the next sentence, the last sentence there. Would you be willing to give Tammy a call really quick? It's kind of like asking for the order. You're asking if they'd be willing to call them really quick. And it's a really low key, would you be willing to? Would you be willing to give them a call really quick? It's like the most laid back, non-pushy way you could ever ask somebody to do it. And so, if you follow this, word for word, you're going to get the results you want. Of all the parts of the program that people will try and change, it's this one. I told you on the first day of training, there's 2 reasons people don't do well. They don't have a good work ethic and they don't work hard. That's one reason. And they don't follow the program. Of all the areas, this is typically where I see reps change it the most. Why? Because when you're in front of a customer, you feel a little more, you feel uncomfortable reading the recommendation approach to them. And so you try and make more eye contact, and you try and wing it as best as you can. And then you start adding in little subtleties. So like, if you maybe could try and give some people a call right now, that would be really great. If you could maybe do that, that would be awesome. Do you mind if I do it later? Yeah, sure, that's fine. That's where people start changing it. You laugh, but you understand when you're in the demo. Got it? You just gotta say it. Just use the approach. It works well. It works really well if you use it. So, any questions on this second box? Alright. So we're gonna role play just the second box only now. And when you're doing it, I want you to practice coaching them on what to say to their friend about you. Okay? And so, and if you have troubles with it, or you feel like it's like, you don't get the transition, just raise your hand. We'll come and help you. Alright? So, second box only, 4 or 5 times each.
There is one more.